You're back for more, and I'm back again. Welcome to episode 2 of the Sniff Session. I'm Valerie, the niche sampler, your host of the internet's most laid-back fragrance podcast. I'd like to first extend a huge thank you to everybody who tuned in to the first episode. Thank you for leaving comments. Thank you for leaving feedback. And thank you for just being kind. I always find it difficult to start new things, but I started a new podcast. The world didn't end, so here we are again. Just n equals 2, just to make sure. One of the first things I've learned from that first attempt is that I need to start recreationally reading more, much more than I have been. I used to be such an avid book reader as a kid, but then as I grew up and got into academia, where I read a lot of scientific articles, I just don't opt to recreationally read as my downtime leisure activity anymore. Yeah, streaming services have ruined my brain in that regard. However, I also urge you to read more because your lexicon I like to think of as a fruit tree. And the more you read, the more you encounter new words, the more big, juicy, ripe fruits just way down the branches of your lexicon. And that means when you're trying to express yourself, it's much easier to reach for the word that explains what you're trying to express. Whereas when you don't read as often, you have to climb onto the step ladder of like you know to get to what you're trying to say. And that is not so mellifluous, I guess. Anyway, this week I've been thinking a lot about influencer culture because I saw a very funny TikTok where somebody opened up and said, "Your favorite influencers are fake and boring in real life." And I was just giggling because they were in the lifestyle niche, and I think that on the internet the most successful people are very expressive, very high energy, like they have the marketing voice, but a lot of us are not like that. I tweet for the low energy girls who just speak the way they speak, and also on fragrance talk or perfume talk or in the fragrance community, I find that most people are really lovely. When I was in Milan this year for Aix-en-Provence, I chatted to a lot of my online friends who are as lovely in person as they are online. Of course, online we all are a bit more professional and polished in the way we communicate, but everybody in real life was as lovely. But I find that it's often like the lifestyle people or anybody who has to do a lot of different things to keep an interested audience. They are probably more bubbly and interesting online than they are in person. I actually had a personal encounter with somebody who I met because I was trying to make new friends in my city, and I hope she doesn't hear this or see this. Either way, it's all love, girl. The first thing that took me back was when we met up. I paid for her coffee, and then she very quickly indicated to me that she had a boyfriend. And I thought that it was like one of those things that girls do to make sure you're not hitting on them, which I was not my team. But I thought that was very strange because at least in my friendship groups, we take turns paying for each other. It's not a big deal. Even for strangers, I realized that we just pay for each other, or girls that I know I click with instantly, it just becomes an interchanging thing. And so that was very strange to me. But in person, she was very timid and almost shy. And I felt like this giant, scary ogre when I was interacting with her because it felt like I was intimidating, and I hate feeling that way. But online, she's the most bubbly, vivacious person, and it was just very confusing to see the contrast. But your perfume favorites are the same online as they are in person, and even nicer. So I really love that. And I also found that, at least in the group that I was in, nobody really cares about your number of followers. We shared tips, we shared experiences, we shared expectations, and if anything, we are all rooting for each other to win, because ultimately we're all people creating content but we all have the same passion, which is fragrance. And that's the initial thing. In fact, when we made like a group chat, and because I'd been to Exxon's like 3 times, I said, if you want to see brands, take meetings with people, otherwise you won't get to see everybody you wanted to see. And then people were like, actually, I'm just really here to enjoy myself as a fragrance lover. I'm not that into the networking experience this time around. And I respected that, because while it was a great networking opportunity, it's also a great opportunity to meet new brands, smell new things, and I love that. But if anything, it's often the brands that are more follower focused, impact focused, which makes sense, because it's ultimately their interactions with us are marketing opportunities. They're not giving you PR because you're a nice person. They're giving you PR because either you can make great content that they can put onto their platforms, or you have a good loyal following and you can give their brand exposure on your platform. But I never call myself an influencer. I always call myself a content creator, because I don't think I influence anybody, and I don't mind. I don't think I'm meant to be an influencer. I just want to yap about perfume, really. So that's my thing. And I also love the fact that even though there was definitely a key entry point for coming into social media and becoming successful on these different platforms, so that it becomes lucrative for you, it's never too late. Anybody can start at any time. But I think that my only message for newbies is that do not be thirsty for PR. Unfortunately, if you want to get into content creation so that you get free stuff, don't use fragrance as your platform. Don't use this as your niche. It takes a while, again, because you have to provide value, but also a lot of brands just don't have budget. They don't have the budget for it. And for the most part, so they can be very selective. Every societal bias that exists in the brand world as well. Sometimes they just don't see you as valuable just because either you don't have the numbers, or you don't look like what they picture their ideal client to be, or maybe you just don't look like somebody that the marketing person would be besties with. And that's just the name of the game. So unfortunately, it's almost a pay to play kind of situation. I have a friend who's very successful on TikTok, and she bought a lot of her fragrances before she started getting sent things. Now she gets piles a week, but a lot of her extensive shelf behind her was self-bought. But that's also another thing I want to talk about, and this is no shade, because some people are genuinely collectors, but every time I see a video starting with, as somebody with 5,000 fragrances in my collection, I swipe away. That can't be your qualifier. Surely there's something more impactful about you that should make me care about what you have to say. But that's just due to my own personal discernment. I don't believe that quantity equals quality. If you have a point of view, that's what I care about. And I think that that's what a lot of my more successful friends have really nailed down. They have a style, not necessarily in the video format, but I know what their taste is. And so if I'm looking for a scent that is within the category that I know that is their bag, that's who I'm going to. But if your qualifier is just that you have 500 fragrances, but it's all I was gonna say something that was gonna be very shady, but there are some people who have collections that are just the top 10 lists of the top YouTubers. It's true. Or it's just mainly PR, and that's also okay. But if your taste is curated by what brands are sending you, as a viewer, I'm less interested. That's also another thing. I think that we need to put respect on the names of the pioneers. people like Jeremy Fragrance, Demi Rawling, Sebastian, the perfume guy, they were creating content for years before brands even thought, hey, I should send people bottles. Or, hey, I could pay you to talk about my shop. There are levels to this, and it takes time. And if you are in your first year of creating content, unless you've gone super viral for some random reason, there should be no expectation that brands will just send you their PR. But I suppose this is a bit of tough love, because I think that you should just focus on the more important aspect. I think a lot of the time people are drawn to people who are passionate about perfume, because some people are spending thousands and then they have huge shells. That shows that it's passion. And then some people are very clear that this is all sponsored or been given to me, which doesn't mean that they are less qualified, but it's there's just levels to it. That's all I have to say about that. And let's talk about my sense of the week now, because I feel like I'm about to tunnel myself into some holes where I could end up being in some sort of scandal. But it's just the truth. If you want to start out creating content about fragrance, just love fragrance. Invest in discovery sets. That's what I did. I was already doing that before I even started creating content. I used content creation as a justification as to why I needed to click add to cart every time I saw a new brand that had a discovery set. And now, actually, it's made me harder to impress. But on the other hand, I no longer have this searching and yearning that I had when I started. Because when I started collecting samples, I was looking for a signature scent. I had finished my drum roll. I had finished my YSL Black Opium. That was my signature scent for like 2 years in my early 20s, and I was looking for something new. And that's what started me in the game. And then I thought, this is fantastic. I didn't know that fragrance could be this diverse. And that's really how I got into things. So I think start with the passion, and you have to invest into it before you start seeing reciprocation. That's just my advice. But anyway, this is what I've been wearing this entire week. If you are listening, I'm holding up the packaging for Kayali Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar 42. Now, prior to this, there were 3 Kayali fragrances that I liked, because Kayali is a very clever brand in terms of its place in the market. It gives you variety, the kind of variety that you start experiencing when you enter the prestige niche levels, where you actually start considering what notes are there and what you like, and you get that variety. But it's at a really approachable price point in terms of the budget that the typical customer would have that would shop for Kayali. So being that in mind, it has to be mass appealing but diverse enough, but also kept affordable enough to keep the customer base. And so it makes sense that they are so popular. It also makes sense that they can be so controversial, because one thing about Kayali, these are a generous people. If you Google the Kayali Vanilla Candy PR box, you will see that there is a game in there. There are 4 different kinds of candy in there. There is the 50 ml of the vanilla candy, and there's also a mini of the vanilla 28. The vanilla 28 was one of the ones that I really loved wearing anyhow, because I've been doing a vanilla series like I mentioned last week, and I think it's a solid brown sugar vanilla. And although it makes you sneeze, a lot of people report this, I thought it was just me. It does make you sneeze. I don't know why, but it smells so good. I don't care. I also really enjoyed the invite only, and I was fortunate enough to get a sample set recently, and I smelled the sweet diamond pink pepper. Out of this world. Love that. The trouble with Switzerland is that the Sephora here is shaky depending on which city you're in. So unfortunately I have not seen the Sweet Diamond around, but when I do, I might cop one. And what was the other one I like? I like the cherry. I did like the Kayali cherry, but now that I have my Duchessa, I don't really need it. But the Sweet Diamond is something that's on my mind, and I want to smell the ouds. So my literal life has been me waking up thinking, oh, what am I going to wear today? And it's just been this. And it's insane how much of a dent I have on it. So the Kayali, there's a square that has the name of the brand on the bottle. And the bottle comes quite full. The juice usually comes almost to the top of the bottle. The line on my bottle is well below the beginning of the square. I'm almost at the top of the Kayali in the Kayali. So I've really been enjoying this. And what I've really been enjoying doing with this is layering it with things, because the majority of my experience with this fragrance is the vanilla cream aspect in the base notes, because I have skin that I always say is burner skin. The top and mid experience is going to be a very fast one, and I mainly get base notes. So I've been layering it with this is such a cool brand, but this is also hard to find if you are not in North America. I've been very blessed to have North American brands send me things, but a vanilla cream fragrance is a lot, and like I said, I'm trying to tone it down with my fragrance. I'm in a chrysalis era in my life where I'm just being less available. I want to be perceived less, and so I've been trying to mute it down, and I've been wearing Linen Tutu's Hearsay at 3. Linen Tutu is a brand from, I think, the East Coast and Hudson Valley, one of the two. And this is a hibiscus musk fragrance. She uses a lot of botanical elements in the perfumery, so it feels very naturalistic, but it's a musk fragrance. And then it's got this bright, zesty hibiscus aspect to it. It's not sweet at all. Do not think hibiscus mahajad. Just think like the tanginess you get from a hibiscus tea without that dense, sweet richness of it, or tangy richness of it. And this is just so beautiful. It's so light, airy, and fresh, but paired with the vanilla cream, as this is the thing that I douse on all of my clothes. Paired with the vanilla cream, it's such a beautiful, fresh summer combination. But I've been playing around with it a lot because the vanilla cream is such a lovely base. If you're somebody who likes to smell sweet, as I am, I like to add then scents that I found a bit too dry for me. And while the Linen Tutu scent is not too dry, I love wearing it alone as well. It's going to be finished by the end of summer. I've been also pairing vanilla candy with Arancia di Sicilia. This is a Perris Monte Carlo citrus fragrance. They have a whole line of them. What I hate about Fragrantica is that they describe this as a, what's that American treat that I never had? A creamsicle fragrance. It's not a creamsicle fragrance. This smells like the inside of an orange peel, and it's beautiful though. It's very refreshing for the summertime. But add this to the vanilla rock candy, it is a creamsicle, or what I would expect a creamsicle to be like. What else have I been wearing? I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. I've been wearing the Kayali Vanilla Rock Candy the entire week, and I am absolutely besotted with it. If I just say that is all I've been wearing, we have to do a second take. I was lying. This week I also received the new Gabar fragrances, Rise and Lull. So Gabar is a brand out of the UK, but the founders have roots from Myanmar. So part of the profits from their sales also goes to rebuilding aspects of Myanmar, and they're inspired by that. But I think the new collection is inspired by places in the UK. So let me tell you something. As a fragrance lover and collector, my personal scent library or collection is complete. There is not an element in my current fragrance bottle rotation that I think is missing. I think, okay, that's a lie. There are a couple of scents that I think I need to add. I need a few more green scents and I need a few more woody scents. But other than that, I'm just looking to be surprised and delighted. I'm not really looking for new fragrances to add in my collection at the moment, except when a brand makes an exceptional fragrance. And one of the fragrances, okay, they've got two fragrances, Rise and Lull. Rise is stunning. Rise is a beautiful minty green floral. It's fluffy, it's sweet. Look up the notes, but I mean, the Discovery set is £16. I don't think they charge you shipping. Just get them and smell them for yourself. Promise you will love them. So Rise is a beautiful fluffy floral. However, it is overshadowed in my mind by Lull. Lull was the first one I sprayed on my skin, and the notes is apple, cherry, strawberry, and I thought this is not going to be for me. This sounds so juvenile. And that shows you not to judge a book by its cover or a scent by its olfactory pyramid, because that's all just marketing. Because Lull is a beautiful, fluffy, sweet, almost vanillic fragrance. And I remember in 2021, I started talking about Blanche Bête. And I'm going to say this, and this is one time you'll hear me lack humility, but the fact that Blanche Bête is viral is mostly due to me. I know you're going to say, what? You've got what? You don't have that many followers on TikTok. You never went viral. How can you say that? Well, ask yourself this. Who was talking about Liquide Imaginaire at all before 2021? Really, who? Not many people. There were some people who talked about Fortis, and that's about it. I've been a fan for the longest time. And because I'm a fan of Li, I kept sampling Li. And when Blanche Bête came out, I smelled it and I said, girls, listen up. You need to smell this. And that's when the ripple effect happened, because I influenced people of influence, and then the virality went. So I'm claiming that one. So when I say Lull by Gabar is the next It Girl scent, hear me and know me. I am not steering you wrong. It is stunning. And now there is a gap in my fragrance collection. It doesn't have Lull, and it needs to be there at some point. But these two are very exciting scents. I actually love Gabar. They've got a cool aesthetic. It feels almost too cool for me, but their scents are also excellent. They've got a great fig. They've got a great watery floral in float, and then they've got a great oud sandalwood in ground. I think you could build an entire fragrance wardrobe out of Gabar fragrances and you'd be an incredibly smelling person. I think that they're doing some great stuff there, and it seems slow enough without being overwhelming. So yes, now that is the end of everything I've been wearing this week, because I've been absolutely abusing my sample of Lull and also been wearing Rise here and there. I'm very picky with my florals. That's why Rise isn't an instant love for me. Also, I don't want to smell that minty. It's not too minty, but I pick it up quite a lot on my skin. Camphorous notes get picked up a lot on my skin. But it's a unique floral, and I think a lot of people, if you've ever wanted to smell like a nymph, a forest nymph, then you would love Rise by Gabar. You'd also love Naki by Perris Noir, and you'd also love Nirmohi by Piosum, which is an Australian brand. So there you go, you're welcome. But let's get into the sample set of the week, which is a brand that I have such deep respect for, because they really embody everything I love about fragrance and things I try and incorporate into my lived experience at all. And the brand is Frassaï, the first woman-owned Argentinian niche brand, or even South American niche brand. These are a set of fragrances from Argentina that are created by somebody who has a sensitivity for the lived experience, in my opinion. The brand, founded in Italia, worked in the fragrance industry and has created this beautiful set of fragrances that have a nod to Argentinian flora, as well as just connecting with the world. So they always say that you must embark on a sensorial experience with Frassaï, and that's exactly what you do. And they've got a whole range of fragrances, but I think ultimately the Frassaï customer is somebody who is using perfume as part of their self-expression in almost a ritualistic way. It's not for, like, I would never see somebody who describes scents as panty droppers receiving this in PR. Just we're not on that time, okay? We're not on that time. We are here to describe fragrances as they are and experience them and enjoy them. And yeah, I'm just a huge fan of the brand. I love their approach to perfumery. I love their approach to the brand itself. They're very much into slow luxury. This year is the first time that they're releasing a fragrance in a couple of years. It's a beautiful skin-like mimosa that is feels like sleeping under a warm sun in a mimosa bush. It's called Dormir al Sol, but I don't think it's out yet, or maybe it is. The discovery set that I have does not have it in yet, so I'm sure they're working on that right now. But let's go through the rest of the fragrances that are contained within the discovery set. First of all, when it comes to quality discovery sets, if you have a highly feminine or sensitive person you want to gift a scent to, then you need to give them the Frassaï discovery set. Not only does it come in this beautiful peach color, it has a good number of samples within it. Unfortunately, what I'm going to show you is missing a few because I had to give them away. But it comes with some blotters, and there are a lot of fragrances contained within that all have different vibes, but ultimately the collection is very cohesive in my opinion. So they have some florals. So there's a Fuego Lento and there's Verano porteno. Verano porteno is, I'm not using the blotters that come with the set, by the way. These are just separate ones because I've already used them up. So Verano porteno is a very bright, citrusy, light jasmine. It is just like ultra feminine and light and summery. And then you have like a Fuego Lento, which is another white floral, but here the jasmine is not indolic, but it's more gummy. And maybe there's also some tuberose in there. And this one feels more sensuous, and it's definitely deeper, and it leans into the florality more. And then we have Tian. Tian is a peachy incense. And now I know in your mind you can't even think what that would smell like, which is accurate because this is such a unique fragrance. It has the tanginess of a peach. To me, it almost reminds me of how peach is in a chutney. And then the incense note is not even powdery, it's more like structural in this sense. This does not work very well on my skin, but it's such a unique scent. I can't not love it. Then you might have noticed 2 gaps on the discovery set itself because of the missing scents, but I actually have a travel size and a full bottle of both of the scents. So let's first talk about Rosa Sacra, which is my scent of the day today. What I love about this is the most unique rose fragrances, one of the most unique rose fragrances I've come across. It is a dry rose. A lot of the time rose is sweetened. This one is dry, and it's accompanied by these woods of Argentina that you would have never come across unless you've been there yourself or are a botanist of some kind. And this is a meditative scent. I got this in PR, I think last year, and this has been such a useful tool in like my personal mindfulness practice, because anytime I want to calm down or want to be meditative and grounded, I reach for Rosa Sacra. The way the fragrance performs is like a rosy, fresh, botanical veil, like an organza curtain with a light breeze blowing over it. It's just very calming, and it's interesting, and it's so special. So Rosa Sacra, what I so appreciate about it is that I know a lot of my guy friends really like it as well, because again, it's not your typical rose, and it feels more approachable for male socialized people. And so yeah, I really enjoy it. The other one is Blondine. I gave my sample of Blondine to my friend Maria when I went to Malta, because I think that every woman should have Blondine in their collection. It is a buttery lily that is so delectable and sensuous and ultra feminine. You can't help but feel beautiful when wearing it. You can't help but feel elegant when wearing it. I think it's one of the best sellers of all time, and I can see why. It's stunning, absolutely stunning. And what I appreciate about all of the Frassaï fragrances is that they have an intimacy to them. They're not necessarily going to be beast mode, projecting, kind of almost invading the space of the people around you, and that's what I appreciate. Then we have El Descanso. This is one of the ones on my full bottle wish list. This is a airy, green, watery, vegetal sandalwood musk fragrance. They made a hair fragrance out of this last year, a hair mist, and it was fantastic. It's so refreshing. It just feels like you're a person on earth. I don't know how else to describe it. It feels so natural, and it feels like if you were to hug a baby goat, its mother wouldn't reject it because it feels like of nature. That's what El Descanso is to me. And then the other one on my full bottle wish list is Cuir Pampas. And this is obviously pampas grass, which I only learnt of because of interior design. This one smells like walking in a field of grass. So it's ripe, it's green, it's fresh. On a very hot summer day, the sun is beating down and your skin is feeling it, and it's getting a little bit burnt, but that dry skin in the hot sun in a fresh green field of grass, that's what I smell with Cuir Pampas. Absolutely stunning. I think the collection that this and Rosa Sacra are in are some of the best-selling ones in the Asian markets, and I can see why, because from what I've learned, they prefer more subtle fragrances, and these are excellent along with Rosa Sacra. And then finally, we have Teisenddu. Now, all the gourmand lovers, this is the one for you. This smells like, okay, if you're British, it smells like Christmas cake. If you are French, it smells like pain d'épices. Yeah, it's excellent. Absolutely excellent. Did I say Christmas bread? I meant Christmas cake. But it's supposed to smell like a Welsh spiced cake. And all of these European spiced cake situations always have similar spice mixes with nutmeg and cinnamon and clove, and it smells really delectable. It does have a bready aspect to it, and again, this is a more subtle, intimate fragrance, and it's so special. This entire collection is so special. I think that if you're somebody who's really getting into perfumery and you want to smell what a quality fragrance collection smells like, and then you'll understand why people become niche snobs. I think like Frassaï is one of the brands that really shows you what it's like when you're creating a composition showcasing certain notes, as opposed to creating a perfume using certain notes. And I think, like, to me, that's the clear difference between what's more on the mass market compared to what niche can be in terms of the qualitative experience. But that could just be because I'm a niche snob. I don't think I've ever actually been described as such, but some people might think so. Some people take a lot of issue with people who prioritize certain kinds of fragrances over others, but I don't think it's a big deal. I think there's room for all of us. I think that we can all coexist and enjoy the hobby together. Okay, I think that that's all I had to say today. What is my message for you? What's the take home? Do the thing. It's not that scary. And yeah, as always, in terms of being an influencer, I'm supposed to give a call to action and tell you to like and subscribe and share and whatever. But I think that if you want to, you will. But one thing I will insist upon is that you sample before you buy. Happy sniffing.